Chef Viet is living proof that the American dream is still alive and well. Stacey Bayless, contributing editor for Nation's Restaurant News, joins Viet at NI Restaurant in Orange County, California to discuss entrepreneurship, cultural food fusion, and partnership in life and work with his wife Ivy. Chef Viet's hard work and resilience over 2 decades has taken him from a high school immigrant to a successful business owner. MenuMasters Spotlight is brought to you by Ventura Foods. Together, we make food extraordinary.
I'm Stacey Bayless with Nation's Restaurant News. I'm here at the beautiful Enai Restaurant in Orange County, one of 9 concepts from Kei Concepts, and I'm here with Chef Viet Nguyen. Chef, thank you so much for joining us today.
I'm happy.
Terrific.
Happy for you guys are here.
Oh, well, we're very excited. So you have a restaurant group, currently 9 outlets with 5 more coming. Is that correct?
Yes, 5 more units.
5 more units
It's about
coming.
4 more concepts within
Okay.
those 5 units.
And so you've got 9 different concepts. A lot of them are this cross-cultural infusion. You yourself came here, I think, at age 16, yeah?
Yeah, 2002, came here as an international student.
Okay.
Wanted just to learn, go to college, maybe graduate from college and go back and maybe help my family. My family have some business in Vietnam, and so I thought that was the route, but obviously life happened, and met my wife here. We started this company together, and now we're all here.
That's
So-
amazing.
So now we're running a whole company together.
Terrific. And it's a company that continues to grow and expand. So you bring up your wife, Ivy, and she's a partner and a co-CEO, which is a really
Yes.
unusual thing for business. How did that come about?
Well, I met her first. I started my first restaurant already for about a year, and we kind of started dating, talking for a little bit, and then she, found that the restaurant industry was something that she wanted to do. Asked her to help me out, and she was handling a lot of the management side of things, and I was handling the kitchen.
So as you look over your more than 2 decades here and your own personal American dream, how has that played out for you?
I would have to say, being where I am today, being an immigrant, the American dream is alive and well. All you have to do is just hard work and just putting in your hours, really have a vision, talking to your mentors, and the great resources. A lot of people really don't understand how much resource we have here in the US. Along the way, I felt every time that we need something, I can always go to even the city or city halls and ask questions. And I get a lot of information from there as well. And I just want people to really understand that and utilize all of that out there is that, they really want you to succeed here. This country really want you to succeed. All you have to do is just really put in the work. And yeah, there's no better time or there's no better place. So we're very lucky to be here.
And here at Enai, really unusual concept. So this is a fusion between Italian food and Japanese food.
Yes.
Right? So we're looking at some of your dishes from this restaurant. Talk to me maybe a little bit about this one. This is a really unique dish. How does this this is the spicy miso carbonara?
Yes.
And kind of exemplifies how you work with menu innovation here at Enai.
Yes, I mean, so what we do at Kei Concepts, we do cross cultures very well. So the other concept we have is Vietnamese, French, we have Chinese, Peruvians. So as the mix, I came back to Vietnam often, and one of the trip that I took, one of the most impressive restaurant I went to was a Japanese Italian restaurant, which is really weird. And I talked to the owners a little bit, and he told me a story about how, Japan was rebuilding after the war, and European countries are sending a lot of people to come over to help. And there's a group from Italy that settled and called it Little Italy within Japan. And so they brought a lot of different cuisines from different parts of Italy, and felt like that's a story that needs to be told. So when it came back to the US, I felt it was needed for me to do a Japanese Italian concept. Within this dish, we knew that carbonara was something that's very traditional. So we took spicy miso as a driving force of flavor. But also on top of that, we changed the noodles into udon. And so that's udon, spicy miso. We changed the guanciale into bacon lardon, and that's what you have here.
It's a beautiful dish, and I think it's a surprising blending, but it works really, really well. You didn't start off thinking that you were going to be in the food industry.
No, not at all, except for I like to eat at restaurants. But I was actually in finance and then in software for a little bit. Um, I was launching a bunch of different restaurant-related tech.
Okay.
So like the point of sale systems or the wait list systems, things that restaurant would use, but I was handling on the software side and the financial side of things. And then so all of those service company did not really work out. And at the end, every time that I fail at a business, I always go back into working at restaurants. And so restaurants just felt natural to me. At one point, I was like, all of these businesses, as much as I love it, it just never worked out for me. But I understand restaurant. I always go back to restaurant. Might as well open a restaurant. So in 2014, we opened our first restaurant called Soup Noodle Bar in Bonaparte. And the rest is kind of history.
And how does having had that experience impact how you engage as a leader in your own restaurant group?
Well, that showed me how to be more helpful. I think that was one of the thing that people ask me all the time, when you grow up, who do you want to be? And the answer is not doctor, not chef, but more about, I just want to be helpful. How can I be helpful for people around me? And one way that I found to be more helpful for me personally is cook. People just need shelter and food mainly. Everything else is a want. So cooking was a way for me to be helpful. And so I think what this country gave me the responsibility to give it back. Giving back to community is important for me.
So you've had this amazing entrepreneurial experience starting when you were very young. If you were going to give a piece of advice to a young culinarian coming up, what would you say to them?
Just culinary?
Any entrepreneur.
Any entrepreneurs. I would say focusing on take one step at a time. I think most entrepreneurs really think really far out, which is great. You should have a vision, right? But vision can only work if you take one step at a time. The vision is there to remind you your North Star, you have to follow it, but it gets difficult at times, and sometimes you just need to take your next steps, one step at a time.
One step at a time. So when you talk about that one step at a time for entrepreneurship, I think your story is an interesting version of that.
Yes, it was. And like, I mentioned early on, I started out not as a restaurateur, not as a chef. Most entrepreneurs also had this tendency of telling themselves that that is the only one thing that they can become or they want to do. But in reality, there's a lot of other things that is relating to it. For example, for me in the very beginning, obviously I was into film, productions, engineer, but I never would have thought I would become a chef. But at one point in life, you would fail and restart again. And once I fall back into something that I'm most comfortable with, so that's where I found happiness, is where you can do what you think you're good at, but also enjoying at the same time. At first, I thought restaurant was just cooking and just running restaurant as a business. But if you really think about it, restaurant, you're coming in here, people will put on a uniform, they talk to you differently, they're a performer. There's music going on, there's lighting, there's staging, the ambience, and there's also the whole show of it. So if I think of it as a production, then it's every day to me is a show. And within that, for the show to happen, you need all the technology pieces, all the software. In order for you to open a restaurant, you need funding. That's where my finance comes in. And at the end of the day, I utilize all of the things that I think I would enjoy, but in a very different venue, a different, I would say, approach. And I found joy in doing restaurant because of all of that, kind of encapsulate into that one single idea. And speak back to the American dream, that's how it still works. You can keep failing, keep restarting, and at one point you find your voice and you'll be successful, I think. Yeah.
Chef Viet, thank you so much for sitting down with us.
Yeah.
And thank you for watching.
Thank you so much.